You're listening to the Cricket Podcast.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Cricket Podcast, where we have a three-corner show for you today, a triangle of an episode. We've got India Corner. They've been taking on the West Indies in some T20s. They've just announced a squad for their tour of Sri Lanka. We've got IPL Corner. We're going to revisit our predictions that we made 9 days ago before the auction. We've got PSL Corner, where we're going to talk about the PSL. That's pretty obvious, that one. Actually, Ross, we've got a fourth corner. This is a triangle with four corners. We've got question corner.
You mean a square?
A square, triangle with four corners, square. What's the difference? It's going to be a great one. I can feel it in my bones. Saturday brunch show. I've got my coffee on the go. I've been reading my New Statesman. I'm looking forward to talking about cricket with you. How are you getting on, my friend?
Yeah, very good. Thanks. Very good. At the moment, I'm quarantining at the moment. So this is a welcome respite to the kind of the boredom of the same four walls. So,
okay, Ross, I'm going to give you two questions. First question, do we have any messages for the listeners? And the second question will be, which corner do we go to first?
Okay, so we do have messages, Jack. Yeah. Patreon is probably the first place to go. We've had an influx, I think it's fair to say, Jack, after the very successful IPL auction reaction show. Is that what you'd call it?
Yeah.
And we've had all kinds of different people come on. So we've got Surf, Kieran, Prakash. We've also got Guna Geek. And obviously we've got the already abundance of existing guys who interact on pretty much a daily basis on the Discord channel, which you can have access to if you sign up for Patreon, which is $5 a month. So get involved. Also follow us at the Cricket Pod on Twitter and Instagram. It's fair to say over the IPL auction, we got plenty of love, Jack, I think is fair to say. We got plenty of love. I do need to have a little message to the Sunrisers Hyderabad fans. We are not having a go at you. No, in a nice way. In a nice way. We don't blame the fans. Well, I don't blame the fans. Jack, you might blame the fans.
I do. Yeah.
But I'm in a position to kind of say, look, we're going to offer you an emotional support vehicle through this difficult time. It's not your fault that Tom Moody's in charge, is it?
I'm going to bully you.
The whole IPL. If you need an emotional support card, I might even make one today. I'll get it to you as a Sunrisers Hyderabad fan. And then, any other messages, subscribe to this channel. And if you're on Spotify, rate us 5-star. We're over 200 now.
Yeah, we're like 100 people away from 10K followers on YouTube. So do us a favour. Ross, the second question was, which corner do we want to go to first?
Yep.
Which corner are we going to?
I think let's go to India Corner first.
India Corner, right. There are two items on the agenda for India Corner. The first item is the cricket they have been playing against West Indies. I think you were watching along with this the other night, weren't you? You were enjoying the game. West Indies have come to town. What's going on?
So they came to town for an ODI series and a T20 series. And the ODI series ended in a rather lopsided 3-0 win for India. West Indies struggled to find the right balance in their squad. And in T20 cricket, they've kind of got fewer questions to answer. I think they've kind of got a bit more of an understanding of how they want to play. We saw recently how well they played against England. England C team, but did reasonably well in that, winning 3-2. But they've just got some really exciting cricketers in there. And it was also a chance for Rohit Sharma to lead his men into the promised land. And I think I've just got a few talking points to kind of go through. One is that Rohit Sharma has now won 8 in a row as skipper. So it's kind of the transition to him taking up the reins has been smooth sailing, I think is probably the best way. Like a knife through butter, or a hot knife through butter. They are already 2-0 up in this series. 2 of the games have already been played. The final game is tomorrow. So India are on for the complete whitewash, complete clean sweep.
Yep.
Which isn't to do West Indies a disservice. I think India have just been the better team. But let's talk about some positives for West Indies.
Okay.
Nicholas Pooran, after his mega price pickup in the IPL for Sunrisers, he's hit back-to-back centuries. Jack got both over 143 and 150 odd, I think, a strike rate. And he's been pushed up the order to number 3. I think this is a really positive move for West Indies, who were trying to get him to play like the finisher role in their dismal World Cup. They were trying to get him to take on the pace, like proper pace bowling, and he's just not really built for that to come in straight away. You saw yesterday, actually, the first ball he tried to come in, he tried to smash Chahal for 6. Like straight away, he was down sweeping. He's a good player against spin, and I kind of think it's a really positive move from them. Do you expect to see Pooran bat in that kind of 3-4 spot for Sunrisers, or are they going to use him as a finisher, or is it a complete lottery?
I'd have thought they would. They talked about this Sunrisers a little bit, didn't they? I think they said they were going to open the batting with Abhishek Sharma and Kane Williamson. So we know he won't open.
Mm-hmm.
We have had that confirmed, at least in the first game. We don't know beyond that. I think this is the spot people have been calling for him to play for a while, both in the IPL and I think for the West Indies. The West Indies had they had the retirement party to wrap up, didn't they, at the World Cup? They had Gale sort of clogging things up. And maybe they felt like Pooran down the order a little bit could balance things out. I agree with you, though. I think he's best in the middle overs. That's where he does something that other people don't do or don't do as well, where he adds real positive value. I don't think he's like an amazing power play hitter. I don't think he's an amazing death hitter. But he will go for it in overs 7 to 13, 14 in a way that some other players won't. So I like it. It seems to be working well for the West Indies, and I'd have thought Sunrisers will pick up on that.
Yeah, and I think you can also take positives from kind of some of his batting partners, right? So yesterday he batted really well with Rovman Powell, and Rovman Powell has done kind of wonders for his reputation in the last kind of couple of months, but he is a natural power hitter, right? He's got fantastic eyes for the ball. He almost has like the same wrists as Josh Butler tries. He tries to hit the ball quite low and kind of goes through the ball, and it's very, very, very effective. And Harsh Bogle on the comms was just kind of, I cannot believe how hard this guy is hitting the ball to the boundary, and it's just brilliant to watch. And I tweeted out around that obviously he's been picked up by Delhi for IPL, and he will get them out of trouble in a couple of games. Like, I've got no doubt about it. Like him as a kind of 5 or 6, I genuinely think if he's playing, he'll be a real asset to the Delhi team.
What I want to know about in this game is how the West Indies lost by 8 runs, only 3 wickets down.
Yeah, well, that's when you need to look at their opening partnership, unfortunately. So it wasn't, when there's games where you look back and someone's just like, how the hell did they get there? And it was because they did nothing of the first 40 balls of their innings. I think they got 31 or 40 balls from their 2 opening batsmen, and that just kills the game, right? From that part, they're always behind the 8 ball, so to speak. And Pooran and Rovman Powell did almost as good as they possibly could have done, right? They batted in a way in which they both hit over 150, but Rovman Powell hit a 180 over 180. So they just had too much to do. And the intent, you kind of talk about Gale clogging things up, but they need a Gale type figure at the top of this order. Like someone like Evan. Yeah, not an old man.
With a strip club in his house. That's what they need.
Wears gold trousers everywhere. But they need someone who's just got a little bit more oomph at the top of the order. I think what I'm trying to say. Like an Evan Lewis, there is a question mark around. Actually, would he be better suited kind of at the top of the order? I know there's all kinds of different things that goes on in West Indies cricket, and there's kind of fitness issues, etc. But I think they need to figure that out, because their middle order of Pooran, Powell, Pollard. Actually, that's pretty useful. If we're
Andre Russell at 6. I don't know if he's playing in this one, but
no,
for proper tournaments, he'll be back. You'd think, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I thought so. But anyway, let's
Holder at 7. Decent.
Yes, yeah, very decent. So they're really, really close to having something that really works for them. And I think when the World Cup kind of plays out, it'll be it's Australia. Is it Australia the next one?
Yeah.
So you're having a bit more intent at the top is probably what they need. But let's talk about India. So Ravi Bishnoi has impressed in an India jersey so far, and a few nerves on the first couple of his balls, but then found his rhythm and ended up with some pretty tidy figures. Jack, you've been a pretty big buyer of Ravi Bishnoi in the last kind of couple of years. It's not that surprising that he's fitting nicely into international cricket, is it?
Pretty good player. It was strange for a lot of last year's IPL that he wasn't not first name on the team sheet for Punjab, but they were actually leaving him out. I think he has a good leg break, a good googly, and he lands it in the right area. It's like it's not in-depth technical analysis, that is it, right? But if you can spin the ball both ways, and the googly's hitting the stumps and the leg break's going past off stump, then you are going to be difficult to play. Obviously, playing your first matches, you'll be a bit nervous. It's a big deal playing for your country. I think we can forgive him that, but came through well. I think, was it 30 for 1 in the second match? Took 33% of the wickets.
Yeah, when in the first game he took 2 for 17. So you're taking that all day long on your debut. So yeah. And there's all I would like to see for Ravi though is him to shave his head again. Like I'm not liking this kind of little mop that he's got going on, and you need it full shave again. Like he looks like he's only about 5'2" when he's coming into bowl. He looks like the same size as the stumps, but that low trajectory makes it even harder to hit. So he's using everything in his arsenal, and he's also been paired really nicely with Yuzi Chahal, who, let's be honest, he had a challenging 2021. He wasn't particularly brilliant, but the confidence is back, and I'm not sure if this is the Rohit Sharma effect, but in the last game he was given the 2 overs in the power play and came out of it really, really well. Would have taken a couple more wickets if the catches had gone his way, and it also, the due factor was back on the commentator's lips, and it might have been the reason he was bowling in the power play, but to have that trust and then to return that, I thought was great to see. And Rajasthan Royals, that's a big gain for them if he's back in form.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, some people have been saying he's underpriced in the IPL auction, and if he bowls like this regularly, then they're probably right, aren't they? I mean, Bishnoi 4 crore. We're kind of doing a blended IPL India corner here, aren't we? So we're back to a triangle, but that looks like an even bigger bargain now, doesn't it? Especially because he's a cap player and you wouldn't be able to trade him for 4 crore anymore.
Absolutely. And then the other part is, and we kind of mentioned Rohit Sharma's captaincy at the top of the show, and where he's going 1 8 in a row. But the reason they won this game was because of the partnership between Rishabh Pant and Venki Iyer. Pant ended up with 52 off 28 and Iyer 33 off 18. And this saw from Edges and Sledges had retweeted somebody saying that this is the first time that India's number 5 and 6 have both managed a strike rate of more than 180 in a T20 international while scoring 25 or more runs.
There's a few qualifiers.
There's a few qualifiers there, but there's a bit around a bit of a, maybe not so much of a different approach, but hopefully this is a bit of a sign of things to come. I know they were kind of put in that position because certain people in their lineup weren't hitting a kind of a high enough strike rate and were making sure they got a half century, but that's neither here nor there and very tongue in cheek. But in terms of what brand of cricket this India team are going to be able to take away from home, I think sometimes their conservative approach works on certain type of pitches. But this feels to me a beginning of something, Jack, actually. Like the intent that they were trying to show and the way in which they were trying to play feels to me that they were trying to have a bit more of an identity around what is the type of play we're going to take when we travel to Australia for the World Cup, when we travel to England for these different things. Or am I just reading a bit much into something?
I think it's you're probably right. I mean, some of the T20 lineups. I know in some of the T20 lineups they put out against England, this time last year, maybe March, April last year. And I know they won that series, but they had like 4 anchors in the top 5. Did they have? Was there a game where they had Darwan, KL Rahul, Kohli, and Rohit Sharma all playing together? Now, that is a problem. Today or yesterday, rather, or Friday, whenever the game was, you know what I mean. Ishan Kishan, Suryakumar Yadav balancing out Kohli and Sharma, I think looks a lot better. And then as you say, Rishabh Pant and Venkatesh Iyer 5 and 6 is pretty fearsome as well. It's good to see Iyer adapt to that role down the order. I'm not sure he'd done it that much in domestic cricket. Obviously opened the batting for KKR last year. It is a slightly different role. 33 off 18. He'll be happy with that, I'd have thought.
Yeah, and I think with Venkyaya, like the skill set actually there, if he's coming in and playing against pace, actually is there a major difference to what he's actually being good at opening the batting for KKR, right? Actually, he's still coming in and you're still straight up against pace bowling, and actually maybe that kind of works out quite nicely, and that's what they need. There's definitely room for improvement in this India side, but I do think it's starting to move in the right direction. And then finally, the last bit in India corner for this part of the segment is that Bhuvi is back, baby. Bhuvaneshwar Kumar held his nerve in the 19th over after dropping like a sitter. The ball went straight up and he was there and he literally hit his hands and popped out, and then Rohit Sharma kicks the ball away and they stole a single. Well, people were quite upset about that. We love to see that.
Yeah.
Like, when you see someone lose, when you see a tantrum on a cricket field, that is high quality entertainment.
Yes,
and people be like, "Oh, the India captain can't be doing that." It's funny. It is funny.
Yeah. Well, speaking of India captain, he has been confirmed as captain basically in all three formats. I don't think they've done like a big press release, new manager style, but they have released the squad for their test tour against Sri Lanka. And top of that list, Rohit Sharma, open bracket, C, close bracket, which means captain. It's a move that we thought might happen. There are a few people not in the squad that I, in theory, could have taken on the reins. KL Rahul, not there, would be an example. Also, no Virat Kohli. Also, no Rahane. There is Virat Kohli. He's the second name on this. Sorry. Also, no Pujara, and also no Rahane. They've been on the cusp of being jettisoned by the India team for a little while. Rahane probably more so than Pujara. They've gone for this series. The squad, I'll run through it really quickly. Rohit Sharma, Virat Kohli, Agarwal, a guy called Priyank Panchal. I don't know who he is. I'm sure we'll learn. Shreyas Iyer, Hanuma Vihari, Shubman Gill, Jadeja Ashwin, Rishabh Pant, KS Bharat will be the backup wicketkeeper, so no Ridham and Saha. Then we've got Bumrah, Giant Yadav, Kuldeep Yadav, Shami, Siraj, Umesh Yadav, all the Yadavs basically. And Sarab Kumar to round that off. It's a pretty strong squad for that series. There's a star next to Ashwin, which says subject to fitness. So
that just means how good he is. That's all that means. All that means.
Ross, there's two pieces of big news here, aren't there? Rohit Sharma as captain. What do you think about that?
Yeah, it did make sense, right? I think is the logical step, and I think as he's kind of just moved into this position, as we said, as a winning captain, it's an easy transition. And it's not surprising. He had an unbelievably good 2021 in the India squad. He's shown that he can adapt his game for Test cricket. I mean, he won them 3 Test matches pretty much single-handedly with the bat last year and the year before. So yeah, I'm not surprised.
And then the other big news: Rahane and Pujara dropped. I mean, I'd assume here KL Rahul's been rested because he's played a lot for India over the last few months. He's not in the squad either, but he's been quite good, so I don't see why they'd have dropped him. But Rahane and Pujara, is this the end of the road?
I don't mean this to any disrespect to Sri Lanka, but actually it might just be a case of them going, do you know what? Actually, we want to take a view on some other people, right? I think with Rahul Dravid in the hot seat or in the driving seat, there was a bit around giving them the chance to impress and kind of going, do you know what, and stake their claim in the last kind of couple of series, but they just haven't done that, right? Against South Africa, they weren't brilliant. And I think it's time for something fresh. I'm not sure it is the end of the line. I think Rahane hit a century in the Ranji Trophy in the opening game. So there's still a great player there. I just think it might be a case of where they travel to next or who's coming to visit the shores of India. And then they might be back into consideration. So not the end of the line.
First test's 4th of March, and then there's a day-nighter, the second one, I think, the 12th. So it's a little back-to-back. I think there's some T20s played around that as well. You got your hand up.
There's one more point. Kuldeep Yadav is back in the squad. Didn't expect that. Genuinely didn't. That is from the guy's career has gone like up like that when people didn't realize how to play him. Then we're just like, actually, if you sit on the back foot, you've got to play him, and he's sort of gone down. And now he's been picked up again in the IPL, and now he's been picked in the Test squad. Like, it's quite a roller coaster for the young man.
Yeah, no, it's a good point. I haven't got anything else to add, but you have identified that his career has been a roller coaster. I like the fact that they've got 3 Yadavs in the side as well. I think that's good. It's always good when you've got lots of players called the same thing.
Yeah, and they've got rid of Ridham and Saha as well. So you think KS Bharat is now the backup wicketkeeper. So I think his international career is over.
Yeah, it's good. I mean, when was the last time England had Jones? I think 2005. You had Garayan and Simon. But yeah, we should look into that as a potential tactic. Right, should we wrap up India Corner?
Yes, we should.
And we will take a break, then come back with IPL Corner.